Let us do some meditation as a preparation for this class. Sitting still and upright, try to make your body and mind completely relaxed, free from all worries, anxieties, and tension. Let the breathing be deep and rhythmic, inhaling deeply, exhaling slowly, keeping equal counts inhaling and exhaling. Fill your mind with pure and positive thoughts. Consider yourself divine from within and surrounded by the same divine all around you, creating a strong thought wave of goodwill towards one and all in your mind. Send those mental waves all around you to all people, all creatures, saying mentally that let all be happy, be at peace. Let not anyone suffer, let there not be any pain anywhere. Be mindful of the changeful nature of this creation. Everything here is created in time, and everything exists for a period of time, limited period of time, after which it disintegrates and disappears in that particular form. Separate yourself from identification with your own physical body and contemplate on its being a part of this created universe that is made of material particles. There are 5 basic matter known as tanmatras. Try to visualize your own physical body as a small ripple on the surface of that limitless ocean of tanmatras. Likewise, there is a subtle body consisting of the mind, the intellect, the 5 senses, the vital force prana, and I consciousness. This subtle body is also existing in time. It has got a beginning and an end, and it undergoes changes all the time. Realize that there are all subtle bodies, limitless in number, in all creatures and all people. Sum total of all subtle bodies is another limitless ocean. of subtle parts of Tanmatras. Visualize within your own mind as if your own subtle body is a small ripple on the surface of that ocean, staying there for a while and eventually disappearing there. Identify yourself with your pure self, the Atman, the birthless, the deathless, the changeless, the pure and blissful one that is taintless, unaffected by any of the physical and mental activities in life, eternally existing as the witness of all actions. Meditate on that blissful self as an effulgence of light at the lotus of your heart. ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ May Brahman protect us, may he guide us, may he give us strength and right understanding, may love and harmony be with us all. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us all. Good evening. So let us read from the Gospel from where we left last Friday. It is page 345, more than halfway through this page. There is a small gap there. After that line, did the Master describe Shiva to hint at his own state of mind? This was just a soliloquy in the mind of him, because Sri Ramakrishna mentioned that Shiva has got two different phases. One is in deep meditation, another he is active. So when he is just dancing, chanting the name of Rama or saying that Shiva has two states of mind. First, the state of Samadhi, when he is transfixed in the great yoga, he is then Atma Rama, satisfied in the self. Second, the state when he descends from Samadhi and keeps a trace of ego, then he dances about chanting Rama, Rama. So these are the two states of mind. And both these states of mind are absolutely pure state of mind. One is non-dual state of mind, when the outer world is not there in the awareness in that mind. Another is the awareness of the outer world apparently is there, but that is the only awareness. Awareness in the form of that everything is that pure holiness, and Shiva is dancing with that blissful experience, chanting the name of the divine, Rama, Rama, Rama. So when Rama worships, then Rama worships God in the form of Shiva. When Shiva worships or thinks of the divine in a form, then it is Rama. So these are the two different forms, where it is the same divine who appears in this way or that way. So this is the thing that Sri Ramakrishna mentions. He mentions that this world, whether to accept it or not, in the path of realization of the truth of all-pervading pure consciousness or God, neti, 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 and after that realization has been obtained or achieved, then returns back to the awareness of the outer world with this chanting of iti, iti, iti. Iti, iti means this, 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 this. Everything is that consciousness, or it is God alone. Nothing other than God he sees after realization of the truth of God. When I am saying God, it means the supreme reality, pure consciousness, Satchidananda. It is not a God with a form, name, these, that, attributes. He is now angry, he is now very pleased, etc. It is not that meaning. Sri Ramakrishna explains that, and then he says that this is the two different phases of Shiva. When we see Shiva, we see the picture of Shiva is created like he is either eyes are closed and he is in deep meditation, seated in lotus posture, or Shiva is dancing. Shiva is dancing, then he is active. And when Shiva is dancing, that means the creation is there, the manifested creation is there. This is the picture. And in both these states of mind, Shiva is not thinking of this world as a creation made of matter. It is not material world. It is pure consciousness playing. Now it is in name and form. Now name and form is disappeared. These are the two states of mind. So he said that, and M, in his own mind, he thought that we see Sri Ramakrishna also. He now goes into deep samadhi, and now he returns back and only talks about God alone, nothing, no worldliness is there in his mind. Did he, by explaining the two different phases of Shiva, he actually indicated about his own nature like that? This is what he said. After that, here is what we start from today. It was evening. The previous one, it was a continuity of the portion that we saw, that Ramakrishna sit in the course about 10 o'clock in the morning, etc., and it continued from there. So afterwards, all the devotees had gone and all the thing, and there must have been some period of many other activities, like they might have gone for eating their lunch or something, or taken a little break, a rest also. That is not written anywhere. So that is the beauty of this gospel, that portions of the gospel are not stuffed with things that is not that necessary. Already the book has become like this volume. So after this gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, and it became so important a book, and it became so popular, everybody liked it, loved it. Many others, they have tried to write similar kind of book for their masters. Many have tried, and nobody succeeded. One reason was that about whom it was being written, he was not like Sri Ramakrishna. And another reason was the person who was writing was not like M. So it did not succeed. So there was, for M also became a saintly person, though he was a householder, but he became a saintly person. And people immensely benefited by coming to him and attending his satsang. Satsang means just being near him, and he will be, after the passing away of Sri Ramakrishna, many people came to him, men and women, and a large number of them, they gotten spiritually so inspired that they also joined the monastic life, both men and women. So M himself was a very wonderful center of radiating spirituality till his last. One of them, he was a monk who joined Ramakrishna order, became a monk, and afterwards he wandered, lived like a wandering monk, and then he went all the way to Punjab and Rajasthan area. And there he eventually he settled down in Punjab. And there, after M, because he was so devoted to M that he there was a temple he founded of Sri Ramakrishna's temple, and there was a picture of M also. He accepted him like his guru, and then the whole organization, he called it Sri Ma Trust, not Ma, not Sri Ma, but Sri Ma. Ma is M in Bengal. And then he wrote almost like the gospel, parallel to this Gospel of Ramakrishna, he wrote, because he had also kept many things in his own diary. He had a practice of writing diary from his young age. So he had many days of what he saw, what M said, how M explained many different things about Sri Ramakrishna. And a lot of the things are wonderful. But there is a problem there. The book became very voluminous, like 11, 12 volumes like that, and people cannot finish reading them. Because there are lots of things which are not necessary. What he said, how then he stood up, then he sat down, then he did this, then he did that. Okay, that was not that important and necessary. So to this, here we find there is a little gap, and that gap is about what Sri Ramakrishna did or M did or etc. etc. That is not necessary. So it is not there. And then the book becomes manageable, number one. And number two, nice and more valuable. So it was evening. Sri Ramakrishna was meditating on the Divine Mother and chanting her holy name. The devotees also went off to solitary places and meditated on their chosen ideals. Evening worship began at the temple garden in the shrines of Kali, Radha Krishna, and Shiva. So there is a major temple, important temples are Kali, next to that is Radha Krishna, and then 12 Shiva temples. It was the second day of the dark fortnight of the moon. That means second day after full moon night. Soon the moon rose in the sky, bathing temples, trees, flowers, and the rippling surface of the Ganges in its light. The master was sitting on the couch and M on the floor. The conversation turned to the Vedanta. Here the couch doesn't mean the couch that we consider couch. The couch, it is translated couch, the word is couch, but it is actually a smaller bed. Those of you who have visited Dakshineshwar and the room in which Sri Ramakrishna lived, there are two beds. One is larger and a little higher than the other, which is shorter and lower in height. That lower one was easier to just sit down and not for lying purpose that much. And that is what has been used here as a couch. There is no couch, there is no chair there in that room, stool or chair or bench or, of course, not couch. So this is, it is translated like that, but it is that the lower bed. Both these cots, they are made from wooden plank cot with a not too thick mattress on them. The smaller one had those rolling mattresses, rolling one that you can spread and remove and all these things. So that is the master was sitting on the couch and M on the floor. The conversation turned to the Vedanta. Master to M. Why should the universe be unreal? That is a speculation of the philosophers. After realizing God, one sees that it is God Himself who has become the universe and all living beings. The Divine Mother revealed to me in the Kali temple that it was she who had become everything. She showed me that everything was full of consciousness. The image was consciousness, the altar was consciousness, the water vessels were consciousnesses, the door sill was consciousness, the marble floor was consciousness, all was consciousness. I found everything inside the room soaked, as it were, in bliss, the bliss of Satchidananda. I saw a wicked man in front of the Kali temple, but in him also I saw the power of the Divine Mother vibrating. Now, how much difference it makes when a person, a teacher, Sri Ramakrishna is what he is. He is a teacher. He is a teacher of spiritual science or religion. He is a teacher. He is helping people understand the subject of religion. Religion means God and the people's real status and this creation and everything. Whatever is talked about in those philosophies, non-dual philosophy, dualistic philosophy, qualified monastic philosophy, this, that, philosophies, the path of jnana, bhakti, karma. It is, these are all in Indian context. Philosophies are nothing other than the explanation of religion, and religion is explained in these words of philosophy, but the philosophies have only meaning in the practice and perfection of religion, so that the goal of religion could be achieved and attained. Now, so anything which is spoken in matters of this religion, it is all about the explanation and teaching. It is about clarification about whatever is there in the books. Basically, this is all about it. And out of all those who could tell, explain, or teach religion, think of a teacher who says that I have seen all these things, I have done all these things, and this is what I have seen. Think the power and the convincing words that they would be, instead of someone who is just lecturing, because he has also read something in the book, and from that book he is repeating whatever he has understood from those books. It is not like that. It is Sri Ramakrishna says that he did not say that I saw, because that was against his nature. He could not say that I saw this, I did that. He would say, Mother showed me, like Mother asked me to do this, etc., etc. Mother appeared and told me like that. So everything, and he is not lying or trying to be politically correct, that he is saying these words, that Mother showed me. Actually, he experienced that it was Mother who was instrumental in all these things that is happening to him. How he was experiencing them, how he was seeing this or that, which prior to that he did not see. Suddenly he is seeing, suddenly he is experiencing that it is that pure consciousness everywhere. Everything is vibrating with pure consciousness and bliss. It is all blissful. It is not like when the ignorant movie directors, they will try to depict something like a God appeared and the devotee, and the vision of God and the devotee like that. He is kind of either he's startled or afraid or something, and it is not like that. It is not like startled or he is shaking. No, it is not. God is pure consciousness called Satchidananda. Ananda is joy, the blissful state of mind. It fills the person inside out with absolute and pure joy and full consciousness, and makes the person absolutely free from any kind of any trace of fear. There is no fear. That is why in the Upanishad, that experience of pure consciousness or Satchidananda has been mentioned as fearlessness or beyond fear, dropping all the idea of fear. So, others who have no idea about the joy and peace and bliss that happens to a person who experiences the divine firsthand, they will describe it, try some such movie director will describe like a thunderbolt falling on somebody and people are something happening to them. It is not like that. So here we see that someone who is explaining the joy and the truth of knowing that it is that God alone or the Satchidananda alone who has appeared and become everything else. So that's why he says that why it will be like that the world is unreal. He started the conversation with that. They say that the world is unreal, but why it would be like that? Because everything is there, but they are real in the sense that it is God who has himself appeared in that form. God or Satchidananda, the pure consciousness. And there is a blissful state of mind and perfect peace there. There is no the feeling of anything that will shaken the person or make the person fearful, scared, or anything. It is not. So this is what he is explaining. And what I mentioned, that what a wonderful way of explaining the highest philosophy of religion that are there in the book of those Upanishads or Gita. The best of the messages or the supreme messages which in the Upanishad has been mentioned as the secret of the nature of the truth of Satchidananda, etc. It is secret said because it is so hard to actually understand it. That is secret. As if it is very, very hidden somewhere. And that makes it secret. But when that is being explained by a person of knowledge means full first-hand experience, then the information that is so very easy to assimilate, understand, and be fully satisfied with that information as an information. Amy is not immediately seeing that thing, whatever Sri Ramakrishna is telling him, actually, but they become so understandable compared to anything else. And it becomes easy, understood, and assimilated as a bit of information, the knowledge. So Sri Ramakrishna is explaining that this world is not unreal. People say the world is unreal because some of the philosophical statements are like that. He said that that is philosophy. That is philosophy. Philosophy means from certain point of view or certain way of talking about or argument. In some way you can talk like that, but why we should call it unreal? And then he explained like that. That was why I fed a cat with the food that was to be offered to the Divine Mother. I clearly perceived that the Divine Mother herself had become everything, even the cat. The manager of the temple garden wrote to Mathur Babu saying that I was feeding the cat with the offering intended for the Divine Mother. But Mathur Babu had insight into the state of my mind. He wrote back to the manager, let him do whatever he likes. You must not say anything to him. After realizing God, one sees all this right, that it is He who has become the universe. Now Sri Ramakrishna is saying He. First he was saying Mother showed us that it was she. Now he is saying He. So in Indian language, there is no he and she. That pronoun is without any gender. There is no gender there. All the Sanskrit and the all the derived languages derived from Sanskrit. These pronouns are not either he or she. So when someone is translating from there into English, has to write something, so it has been written here. But there is no such exacting gender specific word. That was what Sri Ramakrishna said. So you can say it or he or she, whatever you like. That it is he who has become the universe, living being, and the 24 cosmic principles. So this 24 cosmic principle is the building block, the ingredients, basic things with which the whole creation is defined in Sankhya philosophy. And after Sankhya philosophy, that has been also more or less accepted in Vedanta, but they don't talk a lot about it. In Vedanta, when they are talking in the Vedanta philosophy, that means they call it Uttar Mimamsa philosophy or Vedanta. So the Mimamsa philosophy also they accepted it, Nyaya philosophy also accepted it. So Sankhya, which was the earlier philosophical school, Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Purva Mimamsa and Uttar Mimamsa, which is known as Vedanta. Purva means prior and Uttara means the later. Mimamsa philosophy, the earlier one and the later one. The later one is called the Vedanta. Now, Sankhya philosophy, they did a lot of work in that philosophical school as it was developing in trying to explain the creation, where it started and how it started. The creationism is a very important part in the Sankhya philosophy, not so much in Vedanta. There is there, but they more or less they were standing on the previous ideas that were given about the creationism. What is the method of creation? How? From where it started? Who did it? Everything they tried to explain philosophically in Sankhya. But Sankhya is not perfect as a philosophy. That is why it gradually developed into other philosophies and eventually ended up into Vedanta. Vedanta is one philosophy, but it branched because of the necessity of people following this philosophical school for their spiritual progress. So not everybody is capable of only non-dual practice of spiritual practices, or not everyone had the taste of going for the path of devotion, dualistic or qualified money. So to suit people's different nature or personality, the same Vedanta philosophy has been explained in different ways. But philosophy-wise, it is same. Philosophy-wise, it is same. So there is this 24 basic principles. Tattva, the word used in Sanskrit is called tattva. The 24 tattva. The 24 tattva is very important to explain the creation. What is this creation and what it is made of? What are the different areas or the divisions, and which came first and which came later and how from where. So that way it is explained in Sankhya philosophy, and there it is talked about 24 tattvas. This is what he says. After realizing God, one sees all this right. that it is He who has become the universe, living beings, and the 24 cosmic principles. But what remains when God completely effaces the ego cannot be described in words. What is the meaning of completely erasing the or effacing the ego? What is this ego? Ego is about the first spark of individuality. The ego is where a individual self becomes an individual self. Otherwise, it is pure consciousness, which is called Atman or the self. It is pure consciousness, and pure consciousness has got no boundary, it is not limited. There is no restricted portion that makes it my pure consciousness and your pure consciousness. And there is separate something. Then, if it is pure consciousness and nothing other than pure consciousness, then there is no separation there. It is not restricted or limited, and there is no area that it covers. So, it is just free and it gets diffused. It is diffused, like the bird is no longer in the cage. And then it can go anywhere. You cannot find it out that this where did my pure consciousness gone to? You cannot find it out anywhere. It has melted or mixed with all other pure consciousnesses, and it becomes one without a second. The universal pure consciousness. So your pure consciousness cannot remain your individual pure consciousness unless something is added to make it a little bit impure. So long as it is pure consciousness, it gets complete freedom, and then it mixes with all pure consciousness, and it becomes a universal consciousness. It is no more your individual somebody's consciousness. It doesn't. So to make it your consciousness, now it is registered and sealed that this is your property. Now you enjoy, this is your place. To do that, some amount of, you can call it impurity, no longer that pure consciousness has to be added to that. And what is that? The first drop of color that makes it look like, oh, little bit blue now. Until then, there is no color. So that first drop of extra something magically added to this area of consciousness is your I consciousness. Then you think that this is an individual being. It is me, the ego. That ego is very pure, and that ego is absolutely blissful. That ego doesn't fight with any other ego in the world. And that ego only experiences the bliss of God. So the spiritual practice, after negating I am not the body, not the mind, not the sense, not the intellect, not anything, goes to that level of I consciousness where it is just pure I consciousness. That I consciousness doesn't feel its own physical body. Doesn't feel its own physical body, and that pure area where a seeker in the path of bhakti or path of jnana, when reaches, then it has got still a separateness, a very faint but blissful separateness still there because of that remaining little bit of I consciousness. With that separateness, if it is a I consciousness in the path of bhakti, it enjoys the vision of God. It will have the God and the devotee. Nothing else is there. The whole creation has disappeared. Only the joy of being in the company of the divine. This happens. That is the first thing. First or last one. If you are going from the lower level to reaching there, then this is the last stage. And in the case of someone who is returning back from the experience of non-dual experience, the non-dual joy of Brahma Jnana, the self-realization, from there returning back, first level, that I consciousness has arrived, or separateness. Sri Ramakrishna says that when that is removed, because he says that he is seeing everything is saturated with the pure consciousness. The temple, the altar, the image of Mother Kali, the cat came, the door sill where the cat waited and looked in, all this, the different pots and pans and puja utensils and flowers and water and food is there. Everything is just, they are shining with pure consciousness. It is only pure consciousness that has appeared in this form, that form. It is nothing different. How he can see that? He can see that with the help of his separateness from them. If he is not separate from them, he cannot see. He cannot see the image of Mother Kali, he cannot see the temple walls and the door sill and the cat there, he could not see that. So he is seeing them with the help of his separateness that was only existing as separate. I am that pure consciousness with separate individuality, I consciousness. A pure heart and mind that has got a separate I consciousness. Then he says that what happens when that I consciousness is removed cannot be explained. This is what he is saying here. What we read just now, it means that after that experience of everything is made of that pure consciousness, Satchidananda, and to see that one has to reach that level. In some of the scriptures it is written, Devo Bhutva Devam Yajet. So God can be worshipped after oneself raising oneself to the level of that God. Then only you are capable of worshipping the God. Otherwise you don't see the God. Whom you are worshipping, it is not God. An image. A stone image, wooden image, clay image. So to worship the God, you have to become like it. To see all as saturated with pure consciousness, teeming with pure consciousness, and nothing other than whatever he sees, it is just Satchidananda. To become that, he also has raised or become like that. But with a separate I consciousness that helps to see everything else also different. Because he has got a separate I, or just the faintest ego still maintained. Then, after that, when the Divine Mother removes that I consciousness, then what remains cannot be explained any further. This is what he says. So this is what he is saying. He said After realizing God, one sees all this right, that it is He who has become the universe, living beings, and the 24 cosmic principles. But what remains, but what remains when God completely effaces the ego cannot be described in words. That cannot be described in words, because he is no more a separate individual being anymore, and therefore the experience is beyond description. It cannot be further described. To describe anything, you have to be different from that. When you become one with that, then you cannot describe it. You have become that. You don't have a mirror, so you cannot see anything, anything separately. This world of duality is like you have got a mirror, and therefore we can see the image of everything falling on the mirror, even our own self, as far as we can describe it. Our mind, our thinking, now I'm very happy, now I'm so unhappy, I'm very hopeful, I'm sad. All these things we are seeing in a reflection somewhere. And this entire world is also reflected in that. And that is the mirror of our own mind, in which the whole world and our own self and our all thinking and all our emotions and imaginations, everything gets reflected. That huge mirror lake or lake, and works like a mirror. Why it is lake? Because the concept of the chitta, it is so very continuously moving. There is no fixed and one picture falling on it. You cannot see it as it is and that's it. It is not like that. It is always having a changing, continuously having a movement there, and that is why it is the lake of our mind and the chitta. But when everything is removed and the individuality is removed, effaced, then what experience happens cannot be described in words. As Ramprasad said in one of his songs, then alone will you know whether you are good or I am good. I get into even that state now and then. So, here is a teacher of spirituality or religion, instructor, to help people how they could have a better conception in their head about God, about the creation, about spiritual path. Here is a teacher who is talking from his own experience. And this experience is now and then he goes there. He goes into that state of mind now and then he returns back. So, and he's telling with that perfect knowledge, understanding, conviction, clarity, that his mere words make the student fully grasping the subject. Now it is up to him how he applies it in his own life. A man was a thing in one way. A man sees a thing in one way through reasoning, and in an altogether different way when God himself shows it to him. Of course, no doubt about it. We don't have any doubt about that. A man If only with the reasoning a man sees the thing, it is understood in one way. Our all understanding is with the reasoning only. Even all our emotions and thoughts and our imaginations and all our perceptions, experiences, we have reasoned it out that this is this must be this, like that. Even our understanding of what we saw in our dreams, in the middle of dream, it is all about, we are reasoning it out, and however complex and impossible the situation could be, still we have figured out through some kind of a reasoning that this is. So, the world that we live in and that we consider as reality, it is all that is created by our own reasoning ability. The mind and the intellect and their activity. But when God shows the reality, what it is and what it is not, then it is altogether a different thing. It is no longer dependent on our own individual, very imperfect reasoning anymore. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu. Taking refuge at the feet of Mother Sarada Devi and Sri Ramakrishna, the teacher of the world, I bow down again and again.